Welcome back, guys. New School Sensei podcast. I'm your host, Lance Douglas. So I'm with the man himself, Josh McKinney. His podcast, if you haven't heard it, check it out. I Suck at Jiu Jitsu podcast. It's probably the weirdest name because if you look at this guy, if you actually research him, you're a pretty good athlete. Like you're winning adult competitions. I think you're doing a bit more masters. You definitely bash me. So it's good to have you in the studio. You look a bit like you could pass off as my cousin or maybe my older brother.
I didn't want to say it when I popped on, and I was like, "Oh man, maybe he is a long lost relative." You know.
You're half Asian, Josh?
Yes, I am half Filipino.
Bang, represent. I'm half Chinese. Here we go. It's almost the
Oh,
same facial structure. Yeah, a bit of the crappy, facial hair. Good top hair though.
but that's how it goes, and it's like it's funny. I'm part of a group of half Asian podcasters, and so I'll have to let you in on it. But there's Steve and Matt Kwan, both have pretty big podcasts. Both their brothers, both half Asian guys, and so yeah, there's a whole cult of us now.
There must be something about us half Asians. We love podcasting.
It is. I'm sure you're probably also very much into like everyday carry stuff, like what's in your backpack really specifically and stuff like that, or are you not? Are you one of the few that isn't that way?
I didn't have a backpack, so
Oh my God. Man. So you're not representing well. If you ever decide to YouTube everyday carry, you will see a bunch of people that look just like you and me showing what's in their backpack. And it makes you like, I guess I better buy all this stuff.
well, hey, there you go. That's a good way to start the podcast. Now, the reason why I got you in, Josh, is you've developed a system, designated winner. So I've used that extensively with all my jiu-jitsu students and a lot of my karate students as well. So I find that tends to work probably a bit better with the adults than the kids. Kids kind of, it's hard for them to understand. But just quickly run us through your designated winner.
So designated winners, like there was a problem, and like for me in like 2018 doing jujitsu, I was competing as a black belt for the first time, and up until then I had a lot of success. And then you get to black belt and you're competing with people that literally have been black belts for 10 years, and they seem as though their only goal is to convince you to never compete at black belt again. And it was very obvious to me. I was getting deep into some of my best offense in jiu-jitsu, but I was not like, guys were giving me different looks than I had ever seen in some of my best moves. And it was causing me to lose matches. And it was very much sold at the time so I guess this would have been like 7 years ago, that drilling moves was how you get good at moves. And I was kind of getting away from that anyway. Drilling meaning you give me no resistance and I just repetitively do the move a bunch of times. And then in theory, I will have gotten better at the move to implement it in a live round. But when you think about the difference between an opponent that is resisting 0% versus an opponent that's resisting 100%, it's a massive difference. And so kind of the remedy to this for a lot of us was to do what was called positional sparring. Positional sparring also still at kind of 100%, you're trying to win, but you would do this spar where we would have a very specific beginning and end to the training. So if I'm getting swept from De La Riva guard, I'm going like, okay, well, we should positional spar De La Riva guard more. And you get a ton of reps just trying to beat that position. Then I started to notice that you still, though, the situations felt very similar because you're training with the same training partners over and over and over again. And there was no real better way than like drill this move at 0% and now try to implement it on somebody going 100%. And there was no kind of step in between. And I got to do, and I always will say this, I did not invent designated winner. I think really I just coined the term. I started to notice with certain training partners of my own, we would kind of play this game where we would let the other do stuff, but it wasn't specific. It wasn't like, hey, do your knee cut guard pass over and over and over. It was something more like, pass my guard and I'm going to give you resistance each time. And then we would like do something cool and we would go, oh, let's try to create that scenario again. And we would do it again. And it came to this point where me and now one of my black belts, but I think he was a purple belt at the time, we were training in my studio and we literally were just doing reps of offense, but it wasn't specific. It was like, hey, we're going to do guard passes, start disconnected. Okay, now grab a grip and then I'll try to pass. And we're just getting rest. We trained for like an hour. And at the end of the hour, we were both really, really exhausted. But I was like, man, do you feel like we got better at jiu-jitsu? And he's like, yeah, I really did. Even though we didn't go live, we didn't do anything what you would consider real, live jiu-jitsu. And it was one of those moments of like, we just did something that was important. I don't know what it was, but it was something important. And I remember sending out a message to all of my students that it was like daytime on a Monday. I sent it out to everybody and said, hey, be at class tonight. We're going to try something new. We could be on the forefront of innovation with this. This could be huge. And all my guys were pumped about it. We all came in and didn't have a name. I'm like, we're going to do, I think we did guard retention. We're just going to try to keep the guy in front of us, but the top guy isn't allowed to win. The top guy is allowed to get close on their passes. But if they do, they're literally going to pause and they're going to give you a second to start to escape. And my thought was like, oh, this is going to be huge. This is going to be really good for getting our guys good. But what was also interesting is it made people feel more comfortable trying the guard retention that I had been teaching because there was no repercussion for failure. There was no, well, now you're going to be in bottom side control and you're going to be in bottom mount for the rest of the round. It was like, well, if you end up there, you get a second to try to escape and get back to your guard. And so as we did it more and more, we started to go, well, this is a real thing. We need a name for this. And I loved the idea of designated winner, the term designated winner, because I noticed each time I would create a scenario for one guy, but I would say, hey, you're not allowed to win. And so now how I explain what designated winner is this idea of we are going to do a positional spar. We have a defined beginning and end, but we also have a defined winner. And that winner wins every single time. He can win in any manner that he sees fit, but he wins every single time. The bottom person will give, and I always like to give percentages, will give 10%, 20% resistance. But then I found it even became hard for people to comprehend what that meant. And so we started to be really specific with the resistance. So for guard passing, we would say something like the bottom person is only putting up frames and they're only doing it at 20%. And so if there's ever a point that your partner is just the designated winner is just a brute, you start to build those frames and you go, oh, he's just going to run right through these. Even though it's not super realistic, let him go through it. Give him reps of going through it and feeling that out because you are the loser every time and he is the winner. And when we started to do this, I started to share that idea on the podcast. And it was cool because some people were reaching out and saying, we do something that's kind of like this, but we've never had a name for it. And then other people are like, we literally have only ever drilled with no resistance or rolled live. And now I feel like I have this way to add new jujitsu and good jujitsu to my game without risking my body and without the fear of losing. And like removing the fear of losing, I think is the biggest part of it. But that is a long story for what designated winner is.
Yeah, just from what you're saying, I got a couple of good ideas. When you mentioned you get the athletes to pause, for some reason I never really thought of adding that to when I'm, playing designated winner. I normally tell the guys, doesn't matter, like, the role doesn't matter. You need to let this guy win, and then let him win easy, and then gradually make the winning harder and harder and harder. So yeah, like you said, use the frames. Maybe, move your hips a bit. I never actually thought about just getting them to pause. Like they get close and then just pause, give them a second. And then, you might finish your, start doing your pass. So that's a good tip.
That didn't come until later, that the pause. And the reason it came was because we were doing guard passing drills. And obviously you have new people. They're not very good. They literally are sweeping themselves without resistance, and they're getting put in submissions by accident. And I started to notice it with like guard passing drills. Guys were landing in almost triangle. And so then the bottom person that's feeding is going, what should I do here? Like he landed in the triangle. And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe you should just wait and give him a second to figure out the triangle. And, like so often people will say it's like pattern recognition in jujitsu. It's like, well, you see, naturally, you start to see the triangle happen. And then you'll, in your mind, go, oh, this is how I defended it when there was no repercussion. I can go, and you can like kind of get to that memory a lot faster because you've seen it so many more times. And so that was like, yeah, that pause addition was huge for helping guys again feel safe when like, oh, I'm even starting to get put in a submission. Hey, don't move. Let me figure this out. Oh, it works better if I push your knee off, or it works better if I create this angle. And it gives you a second to think through, which again is one of the problems with when we're rolling live is we just don't have that time to think.
Yeah, I'm trying that tonight, especially with passing, because I feel like, if you you got the person playing guard retention, and if you got a good passer, just happens so quick. So if you tell them, okay, you get, maybe that J point, you got to wait a second before you keep going. And, I think a lot of guys will be able to finally work that guard.
Yes. Yeah, that is like it. This helped so many of the, not even like this helped my best athletes get better because it did, but my best athletes get better no matter what we're doing. We can play rock, paper, scissors, and these guys seem to get better at jujitsu. But your other guys, just your average people and your less than average learners, it gave them a chance to practice winning. And when you're only doing live rounds, if you're not very good, you can't practice winning.
Yeah, I remember I went to Brazil. First trip would have been a while ago, 2011, 2012. So I went as initially, actually I went as a white belt. I think I was a 2 or 3 stripe white belt. Went to Gordo Jiu Jitsu in Barra da Tijuca. So the room, it was literally 20 black belts. Myself, I was a white belt, my twin brother, a couple of the gringos, and we were there for about 6 weeks. Guess how many times I actually scored a point on these black belts, Josh?
I'm going to guess 0.
Yeah, so for 6 weeks, getting my ass handed to me. To be fair, I got a lot better at defense, but
Mm-hmm.
if we had that designated winner when I was a white belt, like, poof, might be as good as you. Might be running the Ice Sucker Jiu Jitsu as well podcast.
You probably just assume that I'm better than I am. You probably.
It's always the guys that say they're not good, they're good. If you had your podcast name as I'm the best at jiu-jitsu, I know for sure this guy is nothing, but because you said you suck, I know that you're good.
And for me too, it's more of an intimidation factor that I can have. I suck at jujitsu on the back of my gi, and you compete against me, and you go, "Well, if I beat this guy, he sucks. But if I lose to this guy, he sucks. Dang, maybe I suck worse." And so, it's just a mental play more than anything.
Always, mate. You have to do the mental games in competition.
No doubt about that.
So with the designated winner, do you run any kids classes?
I don't right now. We did for a while, but I'm guessing you're going to go off of how does designated winner work for kids?
To be honest, I've had no success with the kids. It's hard to tell them, like, okay, you have to let this guy win,
Yes.
for whatever reason.
Without them giving nothing, right?
Yeah. Does they become
Yeah.
like a dead fish? I'm like, yeah, we might as well go back to dead drill and go back to the early 2010s.
I think for kids, it seems that I really do like you can call it ecological approach type games, but I've always found that games that are closely related to jiu-jitsu are better for kids than for getting good until they get to a certain age. As you get to like 13, 14 years old, they can start to do a lot of the things that adults do. But I find that before that, it seems like you do. I'll even say this. It seemed like in competition, the kids that my kids would lose to would pull close guard, do a scissor sweep, get to mount, try a cross collar choke, like just things that they had obviously drilled 1,000 times. Yeah, I just have not found any other kind of success when it came to, having any kid younger than like 13 try it.
Yeah, I've tried it with kids like 7 years old, and you can imagine, yeah, they want none of it. So with
Yeah.
with the real young kids, essentially, if they keep beating their partner, I just switch partners. So it's
Yeah.
more on me. Like I switch it. I tell them we got to make sure it's a fair matchup. If it's not fair, then I'll just switch you up. So kids
Yeah.
kind of respond well to that.
I agree with that.
So Josh, give me some examples. Are you running class today or tomorrow?
Yeah, I teach twice today. So I actually taught a class already, but I'll teach one more.
Would you be able to give me some of the secret sauce? Run me through how you used designated winner today, if you did.
Okay. So I had a super small like daytime class today. And a lot of times when I do that, it's a little more of like, it's a pretty consistent crew. And so it's a little more private lessony. We go over whatever that group wants to go over when it's a small group like that. But tonight it'll be a much bigger class, and how we'll approach. So we're basically going to start with, like, I don't honestly, the term designated winner, we really don't even use much in the gym anymore because that's just how we drill, right? That's just how we get reps is through designated winner, but it's just thought of as getting reps. But what we'll do is we have been working on mount on top for about a month now. And it's when guys start to really, really zone in on something, a lot of times I go, okay, we got to teach the opposite side of this because people are starting to get good at this. And so then we're going to look at mount on bottom, and we're going to start it from worst case scenario. We're going to start it from double underhooks with mount on bottom. And I'm going to teach guys how to off balance, because that's pretty much, if the person has a good mount on top, that's pretty much the only answer for that position, is to start an off balance to get them to post a hand, right? Because they already have double unders, but they are committed with their upper body a lot. And so I will teach basically a technique, and then give 2 or 3 different other examples of how to off balance somebody in that position. And then we're going to basically go like, hey, don't worry about the finish of the mount escape. If you end up out of double unders and you end up on your side, just get another rep of that. And we'll probably only work that to start like 3 minutes and 3 minutes, top and bottom. I'll add a bunch of escapes from there once you have freed your double unders. And then I'll probably do single under too. But once you've freed the single underhook too from mount, and then go from there and say, okay, now that we've fought to get on our side, this is how you fight this part of that fight, right? This is how you do this part of the position, how to get your elbows in, get your elbows and knees connected. And then obviously get back to guard. I'll challenge all the better guys to try to end up in a guard that they actually play. So if you don't play deep half guard, I don't want you to end up in deep half guard. I want you to keep following the position until you end up into something that you actually know how to do something with. And so the actual drilling, the actual designated winner, I bet they would do, because we do a 1 hour class, probably 3 minutes and 3 minutes for the first round of moves. And then I'll do 5 minutes and 5 minutes for the next round of move. So they'll do designated winner for like 16 minutes total. Then we will start positional spars. And those positional spars on Wednesdays are always what we call top, bottom, out. Meaning like, you would start on top in mount with me. I don't think I'll make people start from double underhooks or single underhook today, because everyone's just gotten so good. They need more reps. Everyone's gotten so good on top at holding the position. It's going to be so hard for the bottom person. But we'll have a defined winning and losing. Bottom person, if he gets on top, he wins. Or obviously, if there's a submission, he wins. Top person can only win by submission because they are starting in mount. They're starting in such a dominant position. No matter who wins, the top person goes to bottom. The bottom person goes out to find a new partner. And then somebody who's looking for a new partner comes in. So it's top, bottom, out, no matter who wins every single time. So you're going to get rep on top, a rep on bottom, and then find a new partner. You're going to be switching partners. Do that for about 10 minutes. And then we always do this with whatever position we're learning. We usually then do bad positions after that, but would have been drilling bad positions, doing bad positions like 45 minutes now. And so usually I'll switch when we're doing something like mount. I'll switch to, okay, we're going to finish with 3-5s. And if you are the higher belt, you are starting on bottom and mount. And so that will be how I run tonight's class. A lot of the class is run just with a timer. It's like I will teach probably like 2-3 minute little slices, and that will be the teaching that is done. But a lot of it is going to be the reps that you get. And then I really like, my friend Chris Paynes is really big on this idea of the best jiu-jitsu class starts slow and builds up. And I've done that more and more. And I really do feel like I don't know, it seems to be get the best results, prevent injury, and just really help people actually grasp what we're doing. I know that was a lot for what goes
No,
into.
it's good. I liked how you talked about the top, bottom, out, because I know a class that I ran yesterday. So we just it was at the end of the class, we did a line drill, sweep or submit. So one person starts standing, one person starts seated, top person has to try and pass, bottom person has to sweep or submit. And by about 10 minutes in, all my top students are on there, because we did the winner will just stay on their bottom. So all my top students are on their bottom, and I got all these white belts just like circulating the line. And then the only way the top students get to roll each other is if I purposely pull them out, or I got to try and, beat some of these guys. And it's getting harder and harder, to be honest. I'm getting a ferocious workout.
That's why I switched to top, bottom, out. I was in that.
I think top, bottom, out solves it.
Yeah.
So I don't have to sweat my ass, and then I'm trying to explain, the next drill, and I got to take a break. The break's not for the students, for me.
Dude, that is the truth. And the thing about top, bottom, out is the joke at my gym. We do it every single Wednesday. People love to pretend that they don't get it, because it is hard to that explanation at first for people, that no matter who wins, no matter what, you go from top mount to bottom mount, no matter what, and the other guy's out. The joke at the gym, after I will say top, bottom, out, what is that? I'll explain it. One of my purple belts will be like, so is it bottom, top, out? I'm like, dude, you're rolling with me first. I'm putting the pressure, and you're just on bottom the rest of the class. You're just always on bottom.
Yeah, I'm gonna try that tonight. That's sick. I know last time we did a mount drill, and I was we just doing a normal mount drill. I'm on the bottom for most of it. And I know the next day I had a jack neck. It's been really hot in Melbourne. So I actually tapped to this blue belt just because he kept sweating in my eye. So I think this top, bottom, out, if we do mount, it's going to be a lot better for me personally, because we've got a lot of sweaty dudes on the mat. I don't know about you guys over there, but my guys are sweaty.
Right now, it is very, very cold. So we have no worries at that. But yeah, when it gets to summertime for us, I just let it be hot. And
double unders in the summer, working that a whole class, that'd be my nightmare. Especially no-gi, stuff that.
Yeah, and it's the guys with the hairiest chest that always want to roll with you. No rash guard underneath. Just lay that right on your face.
Jeez. That's cool. I like that. Yeah, I'm definitely going to use that top, bottom, out. Maybe that's your next big thing, top, bottom, out, because I've never heard of it. So,
really? Man,
and it solves a big problem, because I've always had that problem. You have the line drill, and your best guys stay in the entire time.
My coach had us doing that probably in like 2010. I don't know. Maybe he invented it. Because I never hear other people say it. So yeah, I don't know where he got. I better ask him. I guess I just assumed because my coach did it that everybody did it. But it is always funny because anytime you have a visitor out of town, coming from out of town, I'll explain it and I'll see them like, I don't know what he is talking about. And then I'll just go, hey, the guy you're rolling with knows. He'll explain it to you after your round is over. He'll tell you where to go and you'll start to get it.
Yeah, we don't use that in Australia. I know my last class I trained with my coach, we were working on triangle defense. So you start in like just a top lock, wasn't a full
Uh-huh.
triangle, but you'd find like, if most of the room is, purples, browns, blacks, it's hard to escape. So I think for that class, I was on the line for half the class. And then as soon as I got a white or a blue belt, I just smash them as quick as possible so I can finally get some reps of this triangle. So yeah, I think top bottom out. That's the way to go.
All right. All right. I didn't know that that was going to be so exciting.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Run us through. So how do you use designated winner for say takedowns?
Hmm.
Because that's something
So,
I've only really used it for guard retention. So I haven't really played around with the takedowns with it.
okay. So a big thing for me with any of these things, this is also like while I'm kind of grasping designated winner and getting the importance of it, a lot of my whole mentality on getting good at jujitsu was starting to change too. And what I was finding to be important as a coach, um, and it was nice. I mean, it sucked because I didn't get to focus all my time on being an athlete, but it was nice for me being a coach and an athlete at the same time because then I'm going, okay, this is working for me now as an athlete. So maybe I should share it with my guys like now. It's so often in jujitsu, guys will say, they'll have 15 years experience and you'll ask them how to do an armbar from close guard and they'll teach you the armbar from close guard step by step the exact way that they learned it 15 years ago. And it's like, man, you haven't developed anything on this. You haven't done any change on this. And the truth is a lot of the times they just don't know how to break that down. They don't know how to explain the nuances and the difference. And so something that's really helpful for me is I try to share exactly how I see the move now. And when I started to do that, I started to realize that a lot of what was making me successful in rounds was, and in tournaments was not being good at individual moves. It was being good at certain skills. And so, for instance, a lot of times we talk about skills on the feet. Grip fighting is a skill on the feet, right? And so, if we are going to look at what grip fighting is, a lot of what grip fighting is just fighting for the first little bits of control. Okay. So, if we're in the gi, the first bits of control tend to be lapel. I mean, I guess you could say sleeve, but usually the lapel is going to be the first bits of control. How that looks, though, is if I grab your lapel and you pummel your arm to the inside and grab my lapel, you will be able to both pull and push me. I will pretty much only be able to push you. If I try to pull you, you'll be able to push with your arm and you'll be able to deflect it. So you have more control than I do. So the first steps to doing this, and I look back at like something my wrestling coach has said to me, and it took me years to actually grasp it. But he said to me, "When you win control, you use that control every time." And what he means by that is like when you win a collar tie, you don't have to go for a takedown. But what you do is you make the guy fall over a little bit. So I win the collar tie, I take a few steps back and try to, just get you, not a real snap down even, but just get you to kind of fall forward. And then what happens is I do that twice and my opponent starts to approach a little bit taller. And so maybe I go, okay, well, I can't get that collar tie anymore. Maybe I'll just push him a little bit to make him fall backwards a little bit. And when you do this, and he would say, I don't want you to shoot until you've done this 10 times in a round, until you have broken that posture 10 times. Well, I would be counting and I would get to about rep 6. And then every time the dude would take a dumb shot. And I'm like, dude, you were a mile away from me. You had a terrible angle. Why did you do that? And I started to realize, oh, it's because it feels like you're in this earthquake all the time. It feels like I'm always falling forward. I'm always falling backwards. And a lot of the times, like I stopped having to take these shots and go for these throws because I was starting to develop that skill set of grip fighting. And that is how I like to look at any of these things from designated winners. Like, well, what skill set, what thing that happens a lot am I looking for? So like grip fighting for inside control. And usually I'll explain it just like that to my students. But each time you win control, you break the posture. I would probably do like 2 minutes and 2 minutes of this, maybe 3 and 3. But you'll notice you do 3 and 3 from the feet. Both guys are going to be so tired. from winning that and just breaking the posture over and over. Um, and start to go like, okay, just all you're doing, you're not picking up legs, you're not doing anything else from there. You're just winning you're winning that, that control, and then you're using it, and you guys will disconnect, but do it over and over. And then we would start to add to like, okay, I guarantee after those 2 minutes, if you knew any takedowns, you saw them available. You saw certain times where you were like, whoa, his weight's way back. I could just pick his leg up from here. And so maybe I would add one or two actual takedowns for people who don't know any, in like some simple looks, something as simple as you're finding that as the guy's going posture, you can body lock him and just do that simple body lock, body tilt, or leg hook takedown, and start to add that. And I think that like, I don't even make the guys finish when we're doing takedowns a lot of the time, just because it's too much impact. It's too hard on your body. And the big reason that I like designated winner is it's not as hard on your body. And so like, okay, I'm grip fighting, I'm breaking posture, but when I see it available, I'm winning deep underhooks, I'm winning body locks, I'm picking up my single leg, or I'm getting to the hips, right? And so have different ways for these guys to get to what they actually like and what they're actually kind of good at already. And so that's been the times that I've done designated winner from the feet. It's been that, learn to grip fight, learn inside control, use inside control over and over, and then start to set up the actual jujitsu move or the takedown moves, wrestling moves.
With say if you got a white belt that's playing that game, sometimes when you do takedowns with a white belt, they don't really give you good reactions. Maybe they're
Mm.
just standing up tall, they're not really grabbing anything. What type of tips would you give them to be a good training partner for designated winner?
I would say you teach inside control, because everybody, especially in like the gi, it's a little harder for people to comprehend how to win collar ties. But in the gi, it's very easy. You grab this lapel, you can both frame and you can pull with this, and you'll start to see how powerful that lapel grip is. And so I would say the first thing is I would have the white belt at like 20%. Try to grip. When he pummels and wins inside control, you can even let go and see if you have time to reach and grab your own. You're not going to use it, right? The other guy is the one who gets to use the control, but you can just, a lot of what we say is like, you're just being annoying as the training partner. You're not actually causing any real reaction or too much of a reaction. You're just kind of being annoying. And the other thing, and this, I should have said this earlier, but this is something that helps guys grasp the idea so much is, we have this designated winner game. Obviously, we're defining one person to win every time. So there's no real way to win or lose, but the goal, you guys both have the same goal. If we're designated winner with guard retention, both of our job is to get you better at guard retention, right? When we switch top to bottom, then both of our job becomes to get me better at guard retention. And so learning that, like learning the feedback of all these things is a skill in itself. Learning how you might actually react is a skill in itself. But when you both have that same initial intention of our job is to get the other guy better at this, it seems to make such a difference.
I reckon using the phrase just being annoying, that would work quite well, especially with us Australians. Because I don't know, do you know much about Australia? How we use a lot of banter and a lot of joking
I,
around.
I mean, I subscribe to Craig Jones's YouTube channel, but that's about the end of my, knowledge.
Yeah, it's to be honest, it's a lot like that. We have AFL footy, so it's different. You guys have gridiron. We have we call Australian rules football, and there's a position that's called the tagger. And all they're trying to do is annoy a player. They're not trying to kick any goals. They're not worrying about any other players. They're just tagging this other player out of the game, being annoying. So you might, grab their shirt, give them some jumper punches. You might trip them behind play. So as soon as you said annoying, I reckon if I tell that to my athletes, they're going to think, okay, let's go back to footy, just being annoying, just being a tagger.
I mean, that makes so much sense too, though, because it's like so often you get frustrated in a round because your opponent is being annoying. And you just go like, man, this guy literally has no intention of playing guard. He's just trying to keep me away from him. He's just trying to scoot away. Like, these are annoying things, but there are counters to these things. And a lot of the times you find the counter by dealing with it over and over and going, well, he can't scoot away from me when I grab his gi here, or he can't frame me this way when I approach from a different angle. And you start to like go, okay, well, here is a thing that people do to annoy you or to win, of course. And you able to kind of check that box of like, well, this is how you beat that.
Yeah, we've got a couple of pests in the club, so I think they're going to love that.
That's perfect.
Well, hey, that's good, Josh. So I guess key takeaways that I'm getting from this chat. So with the designated winner, adding in the pauses. So that can definitely work, especially got a newer athlete. A lot of times, they just can't process as quick. Yeah. So maybe that's the difference between a white belt and a black belt. It seems like, when you're a black belt, you've had so much experience in position that you can, it's just the time is just a lot quicker. And then, the other thing I liked was top, bottom, out.
Yes.
Did I even say that right? Yeah.
Yep.
Top, bottom, out. I'm going to be using that. And then just in general, being annoying. Because, I think that would really resonate with my students. I think with the way you describe your students, they probably resonate with them too.
Oh yeah. They're the most annoying group of people that you could have.
The way you
that's
describe
like it comes second nature to them.
your
to be
gym,
annoying.
it's like, for me, it'd feel like I'm walking into maybe like a Cobra Kai from the 1990s. Sorry, Josh, I've lost you there. Maybe too much talk Cobra Kai. Boom, he's back, Josh. I thought you maybe I disrespected your club by saying it kind of remind me of the Cobra Kai field from the 1990s. He's like, yep, that's it, guys. I've had enough. This Aussie, he's giving me crap. He thinks I'm good at Jiu Jitsu. Okay, stop. I'm just leaving. No goodbye, nothing.
No, it was probably one of my students in there unplugging my Wi-Fi. They're just an
That'd be
annoying
right. Stealing your Wi-Fi.
That's what I'm saying. That's why you gotta watch the crew.
Do you give your Wi-Fi password to the students, or you can't trust them?
We have a guest Wi-Fi password that I'll occasionally use to illegally download stuff. So then I want those guys on there, so I have more people to, like to blame and be like, oh no, it must have been that guy.
Yeah, well, I guess when I'm in America, I definitely want to hit up your school. Maybe I'll try and beef up my travel insurance. Make sure I get mugged walking into your gym. I'll make sure to keep everything nice, secure.
There's a good chance, man. There is. Yeah, I have a million crazy stories on the wildness of not just my gym, but like you hinted at, the surrounding area, especially.
Yeah. Do you ever watch a show called Trigun? An anime show. It's about like kind of these anime cowboys, and it's kind of country themed. And that's how I'm kind of picturing it. Like, you guys are in the Wild West, I'm walking in, I have a gun on me.
Have you ever seen the show Letterkenny?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So this is it's actually, I think Letterkenny is a town in Canada in the show, but that's, I think, the best way to describe our gym. The whole show is based around this ex hockey player that is the toughest guy in Letterkenny, and it's just pretty much his life. There's like 14,000 people in the whole town. Everybody knows each other. They all get in fights all the time. But they're like, deep down, you're like, these people are good people. These are fun people. And so that, I think, is always the best description.
100%. We'll wrap it there, Josh. So thanks for the chat. All the guys listening, check out his podcast, I Suck at Jiu Jitsu. Guaranteed, don't let the name put you off. The guy's legit and obviously knows a lot about coaching. So thanks again, Josh.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. Do we have time for me to ask you one question?
Go for it, mate.
So you said, you told me you're implementing designated winner in your karate schools. Mm-hmm. What does that look like?
Yeah, so with our karate self-defense is essentially just all grappling. because we went through a couple of phases. So do you know much about karate?
I mean, I know a lot about the American version of karate, which is different than is very, yeah, it's just different than most other.
Yeah, there are some good karate fighters that have come in America, like, Wonderboy Thompson. He's
Mhm.
very good. But essentially, our self-defense, it started with karate. They have these things called one steps, where a guy holds a punch out and then you grab their wrist, move it around. We kind of figured out that was a bit BS. Then we moved on to, there was a big craze here in Australia, Krav Maga. So
Okay.
you would have heard of Krav Maga. So, just trap something, bang, bang, punch, punch near the groin. And then we we're thinking, geez, we can't be teaching 7-year-olds this. Like, this is maybe the principal's going to come up and try and punch my nose.
Yeah.
So then yeah, and my brother and I, because we run the school, we've been doing jiu-jitsu, we're black belts in jiu-jitsu, so we started implementing a bit of grappling. Because it is a karate program, we don't do any actual explicit instruction with the self-defense. So we'll purely, at the moment, we've been doing a lot of constraints-led approach with the self-defense. So the situation might be, I'll get two of the kids. I'll say, okay, one of you guys, we're going to play pancake. He's going to start on his back. You're going to start chest to chest. So top player, you just hold him for as long as possible on the ground. Bottom player, you got to try and stand up. As soon as that happens, to play the game again, you both got to pay 10 push-ups. So we got both people getting fit and strong, and then swap over top to bottom. So we do a lot of that stuff. So there's no explicit instruction. It might be like, okay, you're pinned against the wall. Your job is to get off that wall. And the person pinning, you got to keep him on the wall for as long as possible. Win or lose, you got to pay 10 burpees. And then we might even say, like, say if one kid's winning too much, we'll say, okay, your payment just doubled. You got to do 20 burpees. So if you're getting tired from the burpees, stop beating this guy. Yeah, I've tried designated winner. I guess, yeah, it's just for 7, 8, 9-year-olds,
Yes.
especially boys. Yeah, they're all about winning. I think that's how it is in America too. You guys are all about winning.
Oh yeah, no doubt about
I won't talk too much politics, but it seems like, yeah, you guys love winning.
it. Big, big. At all costs. It does not matter if I have to sacrifice tomorrow to win today. It's what we do. I don't know.
That's it. That's why the name Designated Winner. All about winning. Maybe you should have that on the back of your shirt. Designated Winner.
I like
I suck at jiu-jitsu.
I like that.
Boom. Okay, Josh, well, let's wrap it up. I think maybe the guys are listening. They finished their car ride. They finally got to work. I'd love to review with you maybe in a year, 2 years, and see where everything's going. I'm sure you'd be coming up with some new stuff.
Absolutely. I
And
would
yeah,
love.
thanks, Josh.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me on.